Welcome, Katie.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good.
So you guys have got this amazing, thread company, and I didn't even know what that means. I mean, I'm just so far removed from that, but it's going great guns, and it's just, goes to show that, there is a market for anything, and I think that a lot of people don't put their thing out there because they think there's not a market. Maybe I just love this, but other people don't. But when you jumped in and helped your mum, after 6 months or whatever, were you headed somewhere else? Like, did you have different intentions for life, and then this just suddenly came up, or is this something that's been in your blood forever?
Yeah, it has been in my blood. I say that it's entwined with my DNA, threads and fibre and textiles. My mum comes from a long line of dressmakers and sewers, and so I learned very, very early on in my life all things fibre and textiles. And then I went off during high school to do fashion design and construction at TAFE. I wanted to be a fashion designer, but as I got further into it, what I loved most about fashion design was actually the construction and the engineering side of taking a 2D cloth and being able to shape it into something tailored to fit the human form. So I went to TAFE doing that, and then I met my husband and we started having our babies very early on. So I was 19 when I had my first. And so fast track a little bit to mum starting up her business, and I was about my third child still in my early 20s. And of course I'd moved on from wanting to be a big fashion designer because I'm a country girl at heart, and I thought the only way to get ahead really was, and it was a pure assumption, but to move to the city, start sweeping the floors of factories and work your way up. And I didn't want to be in a cutthroat industry like that. That's not me. So started our family, and then mum started her business, and it started getting busier and busier. And I had 3 little kids. I couldn't go out and work an ordinary job, but I was hungry for something. So I started helping her out. And yeah, it was just literally just to start helping her move from handwritten invoices to getting a chunky old little ex-government laptop and Excel and that kind of thing, skills that I'd picked up along the way. And then, it went from there. I didn't have any intentions to, take over the business or anything like that. We really didn't know how big it could get, what the market was, and all of that stuff.
You just don't know, do you? I think that we can have the best made plans and goals, but sometimes it just doesn't align, to what we thought we were going to do. And especially being down in Melbourne, I mean, a lot of people have swept the floors and worked their way all right the way up. But, a lot of stories that I've heard too in that situation, people have been really bullied, like really treated like crap all the way up. So,
yeah.
No, yeah. I love that story. What did your mum say? Was she like, no, piss off, or was she?
Yeah, she's a bit, no, she welcomed my help, but she's a bit averse to change, whereas I'm the complete opposite, and I'm always striving for improving and changing and looking for the new shiny thing, really. Yeah. So her and I really complement each other. I think of us like she's like a tree. She's the roots and thing that holds grounded, whereas I'm the leaves and the off there and here and ideas and everything. So, and she keeps me grounded. So together we make a great team. But I'm always constantly seeking change and improvement. And I could see the trends happening of how quickly we were growing. So looking into the future a bit, whereas she was kind of in the day-to-day, just got to get it done. So yeah, that's how we complement each other really well.
So you're the visionary, she's the doer. Maybe.
Yeah, pretty much. But I do like to get in there and get my hands dirty or die on my hands and really get in there and nut stuff out and develop new systems and processes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. When you jumped in at that 6-month point, did you think this is just short term? I'm just going to do this for a month. I'm going to, or a couple of months. I'm going to. What? Or were you in it?
No, I didn't have any plans really. I really didn't, because I had 3 young kids. It was pretty much day to day at that stage. Just trying to get through each day and week and month and all of that when they're really tiny. So I didn't have any intentions or ideas of what would happen. I just went with the flow.
Yeah, yeah, and it worked, and you just stayed. Your mum never kicked you out. Yeah,
that's it. That's 13 years later. Yeah,
13 years. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't add up the years when I was looking at that. That's amazing. 13 years, no regrets. You don't wish you had have followed up the fashion industry, or?
No, because, and I still to this day use a lot of the concepts and things I learned in the more the production side of it. So no regrets at all. And the way I look at it is that through life you do things here and there and you might not follow through, but at some stage you're going to use those skills.
Yeah.
And so with this business, it's all bringing what I love from all different aspects of marketing and production and all of that together under the one umbrella. I'm really lucky that I can have all of those things in one thing that I get to play with.
Not everybody gets that too. Not everybody's lucky enough to have that kind of, the bomb drop right there. And it's just, it's quite, well, now when you talk about, you're building up skills and you're using them, I can't tell you how many podcast interviews I've done. And we've talked about, when something that was seemingly irrelevant 10 years ago, you thought, what is this?
Yes.
When you do step into your zone, you do notice, oh my God, that's relevant. Yep. I can't tell you how many people have said the same thing, that it was just a journey that was unfolding and it was meant to happen exactly how it is. And I think it's
just by paying attention.
Yeah, that's right. And just investing yourself in whatever it is you're doing right now. As you say, it might not end up being your future, but invest in it right now and enjoy it in the moment because,
that's it.
You carry it, don't you? But now tell us.
You do.
I thought you were going to say something else, but that's okay. So Cottage Garden Threads. Now, that probably conjures up a lot of images in a lot of people's minds, as in, if they don't know you. Of course, you're very famous up here, but some people won't know. What is this cottage? So explain what it does. Like, what do you do and how do you do it? Like, don't give us the layman's terms, all right?
Yeah, no trade secrets. Okay, so we take a raw thread, a big cone thread about that big, all on the cone, and we hand dye that. So we skein it off into hanks and then we hand dye that. So we apply different colours in a method that is a trade secret, and then it comes out the other end of all of our processes as a hand dyed thread. So different colours all beautifully blended together, which the hand dyed part of it is because mass production companies can't emulate that hand application with giant machines. So that's how we've got that niche. Yes, so it's used for embroidery, for needlework, different kinds of needlework things, sometimes crochet, just all different types of textile art, from contemporary and modern right back to the really traditional cross stitch and things like that. So it's a very, very wide genre, lots of different genres within that one world of people who use the product.
It's just a whole new world, isn't it? Like there's so many of these things going on that if it's not your thing, you just never stop to think about it being out.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and because I've been doing it forever in my life, it's not something new to me, and it is quite difficult to try and explain it to other people. The best way to explain it is just by saying it's like crack for embroiderers. Our product, it's addictive. It's a collectible. People want every single thing we're bringing out. Yeah. So that's what it is. When you've got a hobby, you've got something you love, and you just want to immerse yourself in it and just have everything. And that's what it is. That's what it's about. And that's what our brand is: embracing that, sharing that, connecting with other people that love that same craft, that same hobby, and just giving everyone the permission to get lost in that and just to let it absorb them. It's great.
I think that's a really important point, isn't it, that a lot of us don't have hobbies anymore. We used to. I remember years ago, and I'm showing my age, but everybody had a hobby. Everyone, or you either played sport or you had a hobby or whatever you did. And I've recently really become aware, that a lot of people don't have hobbies, and they might, because of Facebook, and stuff like that. We sit down and scroll instead of really immersing ourselves in something we love, where time passes and you don't notice that time's actually passing. Whereas Facebook, it's scrolling mindlessly, getting caught up in the emotions of everybody else, and
that's right.
You're not really immersed in a point where you're completely almost meditative.
It is. So only there were studies, and only 1 in 10 Australians have a hobby, and I'm sure it's very much like that globally, because Facebook and all of that is a global thing. So when I found that out, I was shocked, because I've had hobbies and crafts all my life, but to learn that only 1 in 10 Australians over the age of 15 actually have something that they can get lost in. And it is a meditative process, and it's been proven scientifically how the health benefits of things like needlework, or having a hobby, and Alzheimer's, and all of these things that it's helping with, and definitely stress. I mean, 95% of the population is stressed out. So having those things that can reduce that is so powerful, and something that people don't realize. I mean, civilizations were built on the culture of craft and making things and trading them with other people for things. And, before money was around, that's actually what it was built on. And we wear clothes every day, and that's fabric, that's fiber, and it's just become so normal. No one really thinks about it now. But when you do thread a needle and simple art of stitching, and it's really powerful.
Yeah, I suppose too, we're working longer hours, and there's both people working, and you get high, like if you're in a 2-person family, whatever, but you 2-parent family, you come home and it's kind of like you sit down, and then it's kind of like you start scrolling, and then you just kind of, well, I'm not going to do anything. Whereas before we had all this, you'd come home, you think, oh, I'm bored. Well, I might do some more of my jigsaw. I might do a little bit more. I might practice my guitar. But now we've got all these things going on that just makes the world so busy that we just don't do it. I love what you said about art, like we're creating things, creative stuff. And there's often people will say that art is a waste of time. It's a fluffy extra, why are you going to university to do art? And, it's sort of got a bad rap in a lot of people give it a bad rap. But if you look at it, when you call art, there's writing, there's music, there's craft, there's all sorts of things. You're exactly right, because where did the clothes on our back come from? This comes from an artistic creator who is creating something, We listen to music. We can't live our lives without music. Well, that comes from a creative person. We enjoy pictures, we enjoy photography, we enjoy books. These all come from creative person, and that all sits under the umbrella of arts. And I think the world would be a sad world if we didn't have all these things at our fingertips. And
it'd be very, very dull. And so problem solving is based around creativity. I mean, you can't solve a problem in a different way than what it's been solved before unless you're using creativity. And the only way you're going to exercise that part of your brain is by doing these creative things. So your left and your right brain function. I mean, they're finally coming to that with education and schools, and knowing that the academic side and the creative side are just as important as each other, because they're not work without each other. So my house is generally a mess with bits of paper cut up and everywhere, and my kids are extremely creative and clever little messy people, but I can see them apply it in their academic work, and being able to really think outside of the box. I
think it's great. And also innovation in businesses. Do you exactly saying, there's problem solving, as in we've got a problem, how do we solve it? But there's also innovation. How do we make something new? How do we make something better? And all of that is right brain stuff. I love right brain stuff. It's so important. It's everything about who I am. But my left brain works too, so don't worry about that. But now listen, your little I say little, and I'm only saying little because Merbau North is a little town. So, and I was going to say your little factory, but it is quite a small factory, but it makes an abundance of joyful goods, and it's just in a small little country town in Merbau North. And a lot of people, where is Merbau North? Right up in the hills. But so how do you hide away in the hills in such isolation? I guess it's not really isolation, but and still be so out there with the rest of the world. Like, you're obviously very good at social media and promotions and marketing and that sort of stuff.
Well, we're very lucky that our industry is one of the highest industries for peer-to-peer or word-of-mouth marketing. So with our product, people are taking it out, they're connecting with other people that are doing that craft, and they're saying, look what I've got, and they're sharing the product, and then they're creating things with it. People are inspired by the things that they've created, and they want to make that as well. So they actually go seeking the product because they've seen it, their friends doing it. So the internet is, and as much as it can be a time waster, it is an amazing tool for connection, for global connection when it comes to craft. Because if someone is a bit isolated and those people around them aren't crafty or don't love, they can just jump online and they can be involved in groups and they can find out about these things. I've got shops that stock our product that say, all the young ones are coming in and they're just finding everything on the internet, and they're not afraid to have a crack, just to have a go. They'll find something, they'll go buy supplies, and they're not hampered by the traditional way of thinking of, I have to get this right, I have to learn a certain way, I have to get it right. They just have a go, which is amazing. And it's really, it's coming back in a huge way. And we're able to do it from our little old quirky building in Merbau North because we have a small product, which means we can fit a lot in a small space. But I also operate with lean principles, which means we don't waste space. We do everything as efficiently as possible. So we're churning through 20,000 threads a month and getting them out the door in a very small space because we don't have masses of inventory and we don't have all of that. So we just have the cogs turning really well so that we're just buying what we need to and not all this surplus stuff to have to store in places. So we make the most of the little space that we have by using lean principles and lean manufacturing.
I think that's wonderful. When you started, it started to take off. Did you have that temptation? Because I would have, let's make a green one, let's make a blue one, let's make tons of red ones, and I'm making stuff up. I don't even know if I'm saying it right.
Yeah.
Were you tempted to just keep going and going and fill the space and, oh my God, look at what we've got? Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, colour is limitless. I mean, the tones of colour and then you combining all those colours together really is limitless. We have about 388 colours in our range, and then different versions of those products or what's called thread weights. So yes, we could indeed keep going, but they are formulated, so we can repeat those over and over again. That's why we can have standardized lines of product and be repeating those same colors. The temptation, and that's the way we used to operate. We'd dye up huge batches of these things because we'll get through them eventually, but it's only through experience and over the years of going, hang on a minute, and then learning, bits and pieces here and there. And then I discovered lean and I was like, wow, okay, and applied those principles and realized, well, actually, you do less to do more. Yeah. So it's, and when you start seeing those things, you can really understand that you don't need to make heaps of things. That's based around ego, a lot of that, having massive spaces to fill, making massive amounts of stuff. I think a lot of that is ego and trying to prove that, we are successful because we're making lots and we've got heaps and we've got big, spaces to fill. Where in fact, if you scale right back and you're just doing what the customer wants. That's and getting it out the door, just turning it around.
But that's something you would have learned too. Like when you start a business, there's so much you don't know, and so a lot of people don't actually start because of the fear of, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's going to happen. What if I make a mistake? But I think what you're saying is you just you go into it and you just start to learn. You just start to fine tune as you're going. And I don't think there's any business on this planet that got it right the first time. Nobody walked in the door and said, I know how to run a business. Like we're all sort of fine tuning every single day as we go through.
Making it up as we go along. Absolutely. And the more and more you get into business, you realize that everyone's doing the same thing. No matter how big they are, at some level, they're making it up as they go along, and they're just learning new bits and pieces as you go along. You go, I need to find something out about that. And we've got the internet. We've got, the resources there. You just jump on and you find out about that thing that you don't know about. I think a lot of people are really scared, especially, my mum. She was so scared because she didn't know about business and about all that stuff. And it really held her back because she thought to the outside world she had to look like she knew everything. But I'm not afraid of saying I don't know that, or asking a question, what do you mean? I don't understand. Can you explain that? Because you just don't know it yet. Like once you do, then you apply it, you trial it, you go back, you test it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. There is that sort of shame though, isn't there? Or that feeling of pride, if I ask somebody, they're going to think, well, you don't know what you're doing, and they're going to lose confidence. They're going to lose confidence in me. They're not going to buy my product. They're going to think, well, she's just bloody winging it, So I think it takes a lot of guts actually, to say, well, can somebody help me? But at the same time, I think it's about finding the right person to help, because there are a lot of people out there that are going to criticize and say, I told you so, why did you ever do that? But they're not helpful at all, but there are a lot of people out there who truly, truly want to see other people succeed. And we're kind of convinced that that's not the case. We're kind of convinced that we have to be secretive and everything else. But if you find your right tribe, it's the support is in abundance out there waiting for you. You just got to find
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And imposter syndrome, I mean, who doesn't have that to some degree? That's only human. And for years and years in the business, we pretended we were this shiny, business and to the outside world. And that was actually not a good thing, because then people would assume that the product was made overseas and that we just brought it in. They didn't realize that we actually make it here. They thought we had all of these, staff and a massive facility, and then it lost that personal connection because they thought we were just another big mass producing company. So since COVID hit, we've really gone back to grassroots and shown the world who we are. We're in this quirky old building in Melbourne North. This is us. This is who we are. We're producing, this product by hand, and people just embrace it and love it, because then we can relate to people, because at the end of the day, everyone's people.
And yeah, that's right. And people just want to see real now. They don't want the shiny bloody rubbish. They want, and they want to know the story behind the brand. What's going on in that factory. I don't just want you to see open the little hatch and a little bit of thread pops out. I want to know the people in there. I want to, on your website, you've got a great story, about on your about page, as in, how it all started, and I encourage people to go read that, because, and by the way, it's cottagegardenthreads.com.au. I'm going to cover that again at the end, but go and have a look at it, because you can see the story on there, but also you can see the threads. And so if you're a little bit confused still about what the threads are, when Katie was saying, joining them all together and that, I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't looked at the picture. So go and have a look and then get to understand it. You don't have to become a needle worker, but just it's so nice to appreciate all the different businesses that are out there and all the different niches that are out there, even if you don't do them. I don't do a lot of things, but I look in the shops, you know, and I think, wow, it's really interesting. And I'm so happy that people are feeling good when they do this stuff, even though I don't do it, you know, and I wish more people would appreciate that. And when you find something new, don't poo-poo it. Say, oh wow, I didn't know this existed, you know, and all these little things make up the world. Every little thing that's makes a difference.
Yeah, that's right. It's what makes us all different and unique, you know. And my nanny used to say it takes all types to make the world go round. And it's about everyone finding that thing that they can just love and get absorbed in, you know, whether it's model trains or kite flying or, you know, who knows what. But yes, having the understanding that people can get into that flow state, that meditative, just that pure joy of doing something, even though it can be frustrating at times, is magic. It's absolute magic, and it's what the world is missing and we need more of. And you're right, people are wanting their money to go further. They want their dollars to go to something that actually means something.
Yeah.
And so they're looking for those products and those businesses that they can see where their money's going.
Yeah.
So it is, I think it's really important to be that vulnerable. You know, you don't have to show everyone everything, but just who you are, where you are, and what you're doing.
I agree. And I think that each person has a sense of altruism. You know, like we all do have this amazing sense of altruism. Some of us, it's been dulled down, you know, and some people it's overly excitable, like mine's a little bit over the top. But it's but you know, we don't often get opportunities. A lot of people have said to me through, you know, this work that I do is that I provide them opportunities to be altruistic, you know, and often they don't see an obvious way to do it. So that affects your self-worth, and it affects all sorts of stuff about you. But when you get this opportunity to contribute, and so if you know somebody's story, you know, as part of a business, you're like, oh, I love contributing to that. It just makes me feel good that I'm doing that. And I think that's such an important thing, isn't it? Now I want to ask you this, because, you know, like, as I said earlier, a lot of people have got an idea and they don't do it, you know, because they're like, yeah, what if I fail and it's too hard and I don't know the next 15 steps, therefore I won't take even the first step. When you started this, you know, like you jumped in with your mom and, you know, you're saying, oh, I brought in all the spreadsheets and, you know, I just learned as I went along and all that kind of stuff. It's quite daunting, and especially when you start looking at, you know, tax and paying people and you know, all the, I don't know, insurances, and you know when you get into all that nitty-gritty, it's all very well to make a product, but then you've got all that back end that you're always fearing, God, what if I muck that up? What if I make a mistake? Were there times when you were learning all that stuff that you know, felt defeated, or you felt like this is just too much to learn? I just don't think we can do this. We're kidding ourselves.
A lot of it, you don't know what you don't know. And until it pops up and you have to deal with it, then you actually, you don't really know. So the business did grow organically, as in people were loving the product, buying the product, and then we just kind of picked up a few stuff here and there. And those foundations weren't laid. So, you know, the basics were, but when you really get into those fundamentals of business that everyone talks about, that you're like, oh, I don't know what that means, I'm just going to hide in a hole and pretend it's I don't need to find it out. So they, you know, they will come up, and if you get in there early and talk to the right people, I mean, back 13 years ago, there weren't little incubator programs and things like that. I actually went back last year after COVID, and when the business scaled back, and I did a startup course. Even though we'd been in business for years and years, I thought, no, I don't care what I know. I'm going to pretend we're starting again, and to really lay those foundations all over again. Yeah. Luckily for us, we had all those years of hindsight in there. But yeah, you just don't know what you don't know. So doing something like that, an incubator course, which are available now, you know, they weren't then. The internet and the wealth of knowledge in being able to find all these things out, you just have to be willing to ask and put your hand up and say, hey, I just need, I don't know what I'm doing here. Hey, point me in the right direction. Yeah. It's all there.
And there are so many programs that will give Startup Gippsland a plug. You know, you and I mentors for Startup Gippsland. Last year it was Startup Gippsland that you did, and make that, they are a leader in the startup space, but there are, if you're not from Gippsland, if you are from Gippsland, God join. But if you are not from Gippsland, there are so many programs out there that are there to support you, and the government is putting so much money into free training and all that kind of stuff, because maybe things have changed, but they never used to. But now maybe they see now the value of all these independent small businesses that are really the backbone of communities, and there is so much. Yeah, there's so much out there. When you started, I read on your about page. You got to go read it, guys, because it's long, but it's a very great, it's a great story. You said you were, started having your business meetings up at the local bakery, and you were sitting there having jokes with your mum. Oh, now we're very important business people. At that point, did you feel like, because you were saying it in a joking way, oh, look at us having our meeting because we're very important business people. Underneath that, were you feeling like we're just kidding ourselves? Other people run big businesses. We're just small fish, and let's just see what we can do. Were you feeling a little bit? I'm not.
Mum was.
Yeah.
Mum was definitely, and that one of those meetings, we were using 1 cone of thread a month, but in my little spreadsheets that I'd made, I could predict a little bit into the future, and I said, Mum, I think we're going to have to start buying 5 a month. And she went, nah. I said, yeah. So she trusted me, and that's what we did. And now I think we go through nearly 80 a month or something. Like, it's just, it's unbelievable. So Mum was definitely thinking that, but I've always been a dreamer. I've always been thinking of the future and the possibilities and what could happen and what we could do. So even though I didn't think we were going to turn into what we are today, we just didn't know what that was. I just knew that we could be bigger. We could do more and be bigger and just keep going like that. So I didn't have an end goal in mind, but that idea that it's growing, a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, just keep going with it.
And for people, who are trying to start up businesses, that's great advice, that do your spreadsheet and do your projections, and watch it grow, because I think sometimes we don't see the growth. It's very hard to measure unless we are measuring, and I think when you can see the growth, you get a bit excited. It's like, wow, if we've gone from 1 to 5 and now we're at 80, there's no reason why we can't be at 200, and then eventually there's no reason we can't get a bigger place and be at 2,000. And I think that, because you don't just have a cap on it. If somebody's, for example, there's not just 30,000 needlework people in the world, and that's all there ever be. Because if somebody's so passionate about it and they're showing, and then now you're talking about the younger kids coming through doing it, there's if you're watching someone do it and they're looking so happy, you're kind of like, I think I want to have a crack at that. I want to do that. So there's always room for, so much expansion. But at what point did you think to yourself, you really solidified in your head, you went, wow, we've created a sexy business, but we've created a successful business? Like, was there a point where you just went like that and said, my God?
Yeah, there really was. And it was when COVID hit. So our supplies were held up, and we couldn't make what we wanted to, for our customers.
Yeah.
And when the customers, they said, we've got your back, it's all right, we'll get through this too. We've built a really great relationship with our customers, and they were there for us. And we thought, we've got a product worth fighting for. This is absolutely worth fighting for, because it wasn't us saying our product's worth buying. It was the customers saying, we want this to continue. We want you guys, we're worried about you guys. We want you guys to still be around. That was the point where we thought, yeah, this is worth fighting for. This is success. I think for us, that's what success meant.
Yeah.
Is that we were making a difference in people's lives. and they wanted us to be around, and they were in our corner. They were ready to fight with us.
Isn't that fantastic? I love that.
Yeah.
It's I think that what people can see is an overnight success. Clearly you're not that, right? But because you've been around 13 years, but businesses will just suddenly appear. Well, they don't really, but people suddenly find them, and they're kind of like, oh,
they come into people's awareness.
Yeah. So therefore they think, oh, an overnight success. I'm getting my words a bit bad today. An overnight success, they think that. But and a lot of people don't get started, because they're intimidated by, well, that person was an overnight success, and so was that person. I just don't have that luck, and I don't have what it takes. And they're sort of intimidated by thinking, well, other people have got these magical skills because somehow they just made it overnight, But and then we don't start because all the comparisons kick in. But they're better than me. But they've got skills. They have more knowledge. What would you say to that? Put you on the spot.
What would I say to that? You just have to get real tough with yourself, and tell yourself to pipe down, because if you've got something that you want to do, I think it is human nature for those comparisons to kick in and that imposter syndrome and all that stuff, but you just got to get through that, and get over yourself, really. Because these people all started off the same way. And if you're open and willing to learn and not afraid of being the dumbest person in the room, then, you will learn, you'll pick it up, and before you know it, you'll be further than what you are today. It's as simple as that, really.
It is that simple, isn't it? Just take one step in the right direction and then take the next step. And we both said earlier, that people are just winging it. You ask some of the most successful people in the world and they say, I have no idea what I'm doing. Don't ask,
they just know a little bit more than yesterday.
Exactly. And I think it's a really great message for listeners to hear. Anyone who's thinking about starting or wanting to start but hasn't done it, is nobody knows. Like, whenever you start a business, you don't have all the, you have the passion, you have the drive, and you have the, wow, this is good and I love this. And then we get that whole academic business brain kicks in, says, oh, yeah, but you don't know, you don't know all that. And then people are going to laugh at you, and, you're going to fail. And but I think if the message that you're saying, and the message that a lot of people says, is that I don't know. I don't know, like, I know what I know today. Tomorrow I'm going to have another snag. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to work it out. And we just keep moving and we just keep growing. And I wish that more people would get that message, so that they would actually start. And I think that another mistake is people want to reach their big grand goal immediately, but no business ever reached their big grand goal immediately. They started off a little bit, and then there's also the view that if I just start off a little bit, people are going to think it's not a business. People are going to think it's just me, on me, little baby stuff. But every business starts somewhere. They do. How did
Absolutely.
You talked before about COVID? Was a point where you this is successful, this is it. However, you also said that COVID kind of interrupted, it stopped your business, it stopped your flow. So how did it interrupt your business, apart from stopping your flow? Like, did it crash you? Or
huge. The world didn't know what was going on. We didn't know what was going on, and all of a sudden everything was shut down. And we were here in Victoria, and so everything was completely shut down. So we had to take a step back, or 10 steps back, and look at everything from a big picture here and go, okay, number one, is it worth fighting for? Yes, it's worth fighting for. Okay, so how are we going to do it? And we reached out for help and said, okay, we don't know what the next step is. How are we going to do that? So we reached out to business support services, and a shout out to Full Circle HR over in Warragul, Caitlin Grigsby, and she said, okay, let's make a plan. And we thought, right, we're going to scale right back to Mum and I. We're going to start again. And there was tough decisions that came with that. Yeah. We had to let go of 7 staff. So, you know, staff who had been some with us for 6 or more years, that we knew their families, you know, we just had to make these decisions and just do it in the right way, do it ethically and fairly. But it was for the survival of the business, really. That's what it came down to. So we had to step back, we had to make a plan, and then just, you know, follow that path of that plan. And it was really hard. It was really hard, you know, to get up each day and to be pushing forward. But when I asked our customers when it all happened, and we sent out the email newsletters and said, okay, this is what's happened. Supplies are held up. I know you guys want your threads, but we can't do it just, you know, right now. And so I asked them, I said, hey, I need your help. And this is what you can do for us. And, you know, let me know you're in our corner. And I added a button to the email that they pushed, and it sent an email saying that they were in our corner. And then the flood of support messages we got from our customers was really what kept us going through those days, and knowing that they had our back. Some didn't, you know, but it actually gave us a chance to really look at who we wanted to align ourselves with in the future. And I think it did that for a lot of businesses out there, to take a step back and go, okay, how are we going to move forward with this, and what is everything, you know, worth? Like, why are we doing this? And so we made a plan, and we just kept pushing forward, literally one step at a time. Some days, one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. So when you talk about are your threads in distributors? Like, do you have shops that sell for you, or is it all you do?
Yeah, so we wholesale our products out to shops around Australia and globally as well. We've got about 11 countries. We've got shops over there, but they're you know, mum and dad owned or people owned shops. They're not chain stores. We don't stock chain stores. We stock boutique stores, people running their own businesses, because that's where the skills are too. You know, that's where people go to learn knowledge, and that's where knowledge is passed on. So we don't sell directly to the public like some other our competitors do, because that means they're bypassing the skill there that's being passed on, that's going to keep our industry alive. So, and we want to support those stores. So we're not, you know, going to be our own competition by going and selling direct to the public. So we encourage everyone to go into those bricks and mortar stores and to learn the skills and keep that connection and that community going. And the same thing for online stores as well. There is still that connection there, which is so important with craft and with handmade product, to really keep that alive, because without that, there is nothing. The industry will die. So no,
absolutely. And the reason I asked more so, but you've just, you know, answered a whole different realm that I wasn't even going down, so I'm glad you did. But I was thinking, you know, when COVID hit, you know, and we were going into shops and things weren't there, you know, and it's kind of like we were like blaming the shop person, or we were like, oh, bloody COVID, or, you know, and we conjured up a lot of things in our mind as to why these things weren't there. But you know, I'm curious to know, not from you, but just curious, you know, how many people sort of looked further and looked beyond and said, well, hang on, where's this stuff coming from? And what are they experiencing that's causing them to not be able to either make it or to get it there? You know, and I think that it opened up this whole world of realizing, well, for some of us, I think some people are just cranky, but it really brought it home what sort of chains are in place. Do you know what sort of systems are in place to supply chains? Do you know what how many people are involved and how many points are involved just to get you one thing in a shop? You know, and I think COVID really sort of burst that open for a few of us and thought, oh my God, it made us think, well, I wonder where that comes from. I wonder why they come there. I wonder if that comes from.
And to shop locally.
Yeah. And
it did. I totally agree. It made people more aware and think about it, rather than this instant gratification of being able to have something at your fingertips instantly. It meant that people had to go back and think about it. And so you're shopping local, and not just local as in your own town, but if you plucked and put in a different town, what is local to there, or by shopping local, we think small businesses now, rather than just big corporations and mass-produced stuff, is going back to that shopping local. It really has just boomed that part of the industry. So it's kind of been a present wrapped in sandpaper, really.
Yeah.
Small businesses, because they now have that support and that understanding from people that might not have thought that, or thought I can go and get that somewhere else for half the price, or that kind of thing. Now people are going, oh yeah, we know that it's where it's coming from, and we want our money to go further.
Yeah. Sadly though, it not all businesses made it through. That is one of the downfalls of that. But speaking of COVID, you at our last startup gift sign thing, you got up and had a talk, and you kind of blew my socks off a bit, because you said that you did a Google search. I don't even know how you did this, so you'll have to teach me. But and you found that needlework was the biggest hobby, was the biggest spike in that's
huge.
I don't know if it started from COVID, but when you searched it over COVID, needlework was by far the biggest hobby that was being done. And you shocked me.
Yeah,
I thought it was just like a small niche that a few people did, but to say it was that's amazing. That's amazing.
So that was a little trick that I learned in the Startup Gippsland course last year when I was a participant, is how easy it is to find trends and what's happening by going onto Google Trends and just putting in, a few things that people might be Googling for and putting in their search bars. And so I did, some comparisons, and it turns out that Google searches for needlework increased by 259%. And out of all hobbies like puzzles and, yoga and gardening and cooking and all these different hobbies, it was right there at the top. And people were getting online and they were searching, how do I do needlework? And because there's YouTube tutorials out there, there's so much out there. And something that's small, compact, you can see the results really quickly. It blew me away too. Here I am sitting in our business doing this every day, and I didn't realise how popular it was becoming. So I'm like, right, okay, we've got to ride the wave here. Yeah. And now you can see it popping up in Kmart, like, embroidery kits in Kmart, and they're a great place to start. Like, just get started, pick it up and do it. Like, I don't care if you're not going to use our threads. You don't have to use our threads. I mean, you'll learn why when you start using that stuff. But just pick it up and have a go. So it's coming into mainstream now. And we saw that kind of happening. Like the make it, bake it, sew it, grow it revival has been happening for a few years, but COVID was just an absolute catalyst for that. Yeah. It just sped it up so fast because everyone they were craving some kind of productivity and sense of achievement during COVID. They might have been stuck at home. And they were just craving it. And that was a simple way that you could do it. Order something online, it come to you and get started straight away.
Yeah. Wow, it's fascinating, isn't it? And I can see why in COVID it would be just a small thing. You just sit it on your dresser or something, do you know what I mean? Or somewhere on the edge of your table and, I'm sick of this work for now. I'm just going to do a few stitches. And it's not like getting out a table that you're sanding back, taking up your whole living space. But I think it's absolutely fantastic. Now, I've loved this. I've absolutely loved it. I'm going to ask you a big question because it's not really a big question. I'm talking shit, really, but it's just a question I have to ask everybody. So this podcast is get off the bench, to inspire people to take action, go do their thing. What advice would you give to somebody who has a passion for something quite niche because, but doesn't feel there'd be enough interest to build a business? What advice would you give them?
Well, if you love it, there's other people that are bound to love it too, and you just find them, put it in front of them, show them, get their feedback, and that if somebody loves what you love, then you'll be able to connect with them and things will start happening from there. Yeah, if you love it, bound to be other geeks about whatever you're geeking out about out there in the world, and the internet's there. Find forums, find your people, find your tribe, and it'll go from there.
Yeah, I love that advice. And it's, often people will say, I couldn't find what I wanted, so I had to build it. And if you build it, they say that saying, you build it and they will come. And some people say that's bullshit. Don't do that. Only build it if they're going to come. But who knows? Who knows what's right or wrong? But the point is, I think you've got to give things a crack. You have to test the waters, and if it matters to you, do it. I love that. Love it. So where can people find you? Like,
all right, people can find Cottage Garden Threads on Instagram and Facebook, and the website you mentioned before. And we're going to start on TikTok soon, because that's where all the
cool
all the cool people are. There's heaps of tutorials and stuff on TikTok. Jump on there and have a look. For embroidery and stitching, and you can find me on LinkedIn, Katie Dawson. That's where I am.
Absolutely love it. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes anyway, so people can get on there. But just in case someone doesn't click through, it is Katie Dawson on LinkedIn, Cottage Garden Threads on Insta and Facebook, and the website is cottagegardenthreads.com.au. So go and have a look and, start needlework. I'm not going to, because I don't have the patience, and I used to do it. I've tried it before, and all I do is ever stab myself. So, I'm not nimble enough to be doing that. But there are going to be, I know people who absolutely love doing that. And I think that it's got so much merit in it, in the meditative state. So I love what you're doing. Absolutely love it. And I think it's I love that it's niche. It's kind of the thing that most people don't think about. And you're just you're a shining example that you can take something that is a niche product and you can build an empire with it, and I think that you're the epitome of sort of just taking a chance on something small and growing it to something big. And I absolutely love that. I love it so much. So thank you for joining us. And
thanks, Karen.
Thanks for sharing your wisdom and, your bright personality. And I love your positivity, and your sort of can-do attitude. I didn't know what to do, but I found out how. And the world needs more of you. We need to bottle you somehow and duplicate you. And your mum might not think so, but I do,
And same to you, Karen. Just need one little you version to put in my pocket to get me going every day.
Yeah. Yeah, been a bit slack with that. But anyway, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll chat with you again soon.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, heaps. See ya.